Hello and welcome to Dirty Lemon. My name is Anthea. I'm a member of Alchemy Theatre. You're all here tonight for our short reading of the extract from Alone, which is a play written by Luke Thornborough, who's a New Zealand writer. And it's a play that we're going to be taking to the Edinburgh Fringe, which is very exciting. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the wonderful Dr. Bree Turner to the stage.
I'm a researcher and writer. I've been living here in Paris for the last 3 years. My doctorate looked at feminist activism online. So it is more like social sciences, and yeah, I'm very much interested at looking at gender in performance, and I'm particularly drawn to this text because it's like women in space who are having to make choices over their own bodies, but also kind of humanity at large. And I think that that's very interesting.
Alone was written in 2019 in Paris, interestingly. Luke was travelling from New Zealand and he started writing it in Paris. And he then took it back to New Zealand and throughout the course of 5 years toured it around New Zealand, won many awards, toured it around Australia, and it won an award which then sent it to Edinburgh Fringe in 2023. The show did really well, and they were invited back. But Luke's team at that point had become disparate. You know, actors had moved to different places in the world, and he reached out to me and said, "Would you like to do this?" And I said, "Yes. We also have a theatre company," and so that's how that's happened. And the reason we wanted to do a talk about the subject matter is that as we're taking it into the Fringe, as we're, ideally growing it and taking it into other festivals or touring it around Europe, it's really important to have more than just the show, but to be able to talk about the subject and the content. And I think if anyone's seen any of the little videos or vox pops which were taken after people have seen the show, it's highly moving. We were all very surprised about how we reacted to it when we read it. And so I think it's, as well as being an enjoyable play, I think it is also talking about a subject matter that is still really relevant today.
Again, just to repeat, we have Anthea here who is performing and taking this show to the Fringe Festival, or Alchemy Theatre is producing it for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and Stu here is the co-director for this play. So I'm going to ask them some questions related to the themes of kind of what we've witnessed, but I am going to go a little bit off script as well because there's a special ending to this, and when we were talking about the emotional weight of this play, it really is in those last moments. First question. All right.
Here we go.
Yes. I feel like we're going to do a seance.
Yeah.
Who do you want to conjure? Okay. All right. This one's for Anthea.
Okay.
So Sarah's frustration with being dismissed or doubted in her field resonates deeply with women in STEM. If you're not familiar with STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so any women in that field. How did you connect with her sense of isolation and her resistance?
What is isolation and resistance? I think that there's something about the, in this play particularly, you notice that she talks about going to Beta 5 previously. You think that's a 5 year round trip, and she went with a group of other people, and now it's just her and Holland. And I think as you go through the script and like the little bits you glean from it, you realise that they have a bit of funding, but it was minimal. You could only have a team of 2. It's a janky old spaceship, and so that sense of isolation, it's like she is alone in her work, and I think especially when you're talking about scientists or people who are working on behalf of a wider community, if you don't get funding, if you don't get backing, you're very alone. And I think that was something which, as I've been reading it, and the more I dig into it, the more that weighs very heavily on me. And that thing of, especially this, it's like her whole project, her whole kind of thing that she's doing is re-oxygenating the earth. So it's quite like high stakes. And to be doing that and have something you truly believe in, enough to get some funding to go out to a planet and come back, and yet still have people doubt you, still have people kind of shit on those ideas, it would be like deeply isolating.
Or not recognise you for your work. So where we see this guy who's quoting Sarah's work, and he's like, doesn't know that that's her, so there's this disconnect that exists there.
And I think, what was you said, the resistance?
Yeah.
I think that's where God comes in for her. It was interesting when I first got the script and I took it, like, you know, Luke gave it to me and I read it and I was like, wow, you know, as someone, I'm not Christian in faith, it was like quite challenging to play a character who believes in God. Especially, you know, there's a bit where she refers to him with a capital H. And I said, I think he's changed it slightly for me in the bit at the beginning when she first talks about it, she says him or her, but then she goes back to him later on. But something Luke said was that is what's unique about Sarah, and almost holding on to that faith or that sense of something bigger than her is what stops her falling away. Because when she's doing something which, you know, you would hope and want to have the belief in all of the people you're trying, from all the people you're trying to save, if you don't have that, you need to have some sense of something larger than you, and I think that's where her resistance comes from. So she doesn't feel alone, but in that she then becomes alone. You know, that thing she feels like isolated from Holland, even through Holland being like, I don't know, but I understand that.
Just to dig a bit deeper on that one, I have a question for you on that subject. So the moment where Sarah calls out Holland's like reductive assumptions, like that her faith in God is a result of her trauma, like her mum dying, and in defense of her faith, she asserts her emotional and like intellectual autonomy, but also like the desire to never be alone. Why do you think this is important to Sarah, and what does it say about the need for faith today?
Yeah. I've always felt like faith, if you look at like history, it's always some kind of faith, some kind of religion, something kind of holding us up. And I think that's like a very human desire to want to believe in something greater than ourselves. Like whether it's star signs, whether it's the government, whether it's but whether, you know, but you want to have this feeling that I am not at this alone in my corner trying to figure this out. And I think religion also makes sense of things that cannot be made sense of. And it's interesting because, again, I'm having to get into Sarah's head, because for me, I'm almost a bit like Holland. I probably sit on the Holland, like personally, I probably sit on the Holland team of being a bit like, oh yeah, how did that happen? Why, you know? But so it's interesting digging into it. The bit which I thought was really interesting is when she says, and this again, reading it fresh with all you people here, was I was like, oh wow. She says, and if you are ever alone, like really alone, you'll be begging for God to come and comfort you, because there are things that live in the dark patches between the stars, and they can break you, and they will make you cold and lonely, and I pray that you never meet them. So when I talked to Luke, our wonderful creator, this play has been honed and honed and honed and honed. So the lore behind it is incredible. If ever there's anything I want to know, I just message him and he sends it to me. But one of the things I've read between the lines here is when they went out on the first mission to Beta 5, they got there and they were like, oh wow, you know, there's these microbes, potentially this could, this could be a viable planet to move to, and that's what the Dr. Matthew wants to do. But as Sarah's there, she has this idea, well, what if we take the microbes back? And she posits it as an idea, but because he's like the head of the mission, he says, no, we're not going to take anything back. We won't, because I think it's like, it's against his,
beliefs?
Against his proposal, against his study, and so he doesn't back it. And Luke then said to me, imagine what a 2.5-year journey back would be after that fight, after knowing that you were like, we could have literally taken some petri dishes of this stuff and tested it, And so that thing when she talks about like the darkness in between the stars, it made me think of like how alone and frightened she must have been in that really long journey coming back when she had a team of people who potentially were not supporting her. Yeah. I think I probably sidled off to the side question. You have to bring me back down.
No, that's all right. Would you like to say anything about like dealing with the themes of like faith and science from a director's perspective?
Well, I think what you just mentioned there about, you know, imagining this journey that you could have saved the world then if it weren't for the sake of this one man's fragile ego is like such a crux of everything.
Yeah.
And talking about you know, they talk in the reading about how, you know, there's this massive PR push around the mission, and you know, you are literally one of the people potentially going to save the world, but this guy has no idea who you are because they're just focusing on the purple and the fields and stuff like that, and not actually that like you have this amazing smart woman at the head of it. And so I think, you know, going into directing it, I think what you said earlier, like the weight of this, the weight of that loneliness, that oppression, is something that, you know, Sarah's carried with her for her entire life, but also under some pretty intense circumstances as well. And that's something that we'll definitely be wanting to play with, of just like how much this has actually affected her and how much it will then be translated into the mission that she's on now and certain key decisions that she makes during this during the course of the show.
Yeah. I really, sorry to jump in there, I was, you know, doing a lot of character work on Sarah and being like, well, how is she how she is? Like what makes her say these things? What makes her believe in these things? What makes her... And I was like, if you track back her journey, like look at her age and track back, okay, we're like 3 years into a 5-year mission. And then before that, she probably did a whole load of work and research to be able to get the funding to go. So then before that, another couple of years. Then it was the 5-year mission. Then she would have had to train to be able to go on that. So this is like maybe 10, 15, 20 years of her life.
Decades.
Like, and where she hasn't stopped. You know, and I think of anyone I know who works in academics, and especially in kind of like high pressure fields, I think my doctor friends back home, you know, the level of dedication that is required to do that. And I think she's become more lonely as she goes, and I think I imagine that her belief in God has strengthened through that journey. As she has become more alone, I think her belief has become stronger. Although I want to explore, I mean, it's something we can look at, but I really want to explore her journey through the play of like, how does her, because I feel like she's holding on to the like the threads of this belief at this stage. I think
I'd probably agree.
I think it's like she's holding on by a thread, and then
which makes the conviction even stronger, right?
And she's trying to convince herself, and actually, I think there's part of it which is like, I don't know if I even buy this anymore. Yeah.
I think everybody kind of needs a purpose, and that's what faith can kind of provide for some people. If the outcome or the legacy is like not enough, so. To talk a little bit more about that, the Purple Fields project, it symbolises a hopeful scientific legacy. And how do each of you view Sarah's and Colin's legacy by the end of the play?
I mean, I think in terms of legacy, you really have to think about you know, it implies that one thing is gone and something is left, right? And so you have to think, and essentially the people who are left behind are the people who decide what to do with that legacy, if anything. And there are a lot of questions at the end of the play as to whether people will be able to do anything with a certain legacy, given the information that they may or may not have.
I think we can be a little bit more explicit.
Okay.
Because otherwise
Yeah.
Alinda's there we go. Yeah.
That's all.
Alinda's saving herself for when we do this like in 2 years' time in Paris.
Nobody wants to close their ears.
Yeah.
So things start to go wrong on the spaceship, and the Lady of the Nile, the
Lily.
Lily of the Nile.
The Lady of the
Nile.
Stu was like, I'm doing a rewrite.
That's right. Not this. The Lily of the Nile. Eventually, it is not clear as to whether the Lily of the Nile will be found after things go wrong. There is no communication is interrupted with Earth, and
essentially, at the end of the play, they're floating through space. The ship is floating through space with just
limited
oxygen. Limited oxygen, and it's really sad and it's really grim, but it's really beautiful. Oh my god, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I forget now how that connects to what I just was saying.
Okay, so we're talking about like the scientific legacy that
Yes.
they may or may not leave,
Exactly.
right? And so if I'm asking like, how do you view it? Yeah, you're kind of saying that it's like, well, if it doesn't exist, can a legacy still exist?
Exactly.
I have thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So it's there's a section at the end of the play where time's running out, and there is a moment when suddenly there is a connection to home. They realise that there is a tenuous connection, and Holland, ever practical Holland, is like, right, where's your stuff? We're gonna send it. We're gonna put it in these little cards, and we're gonna send it through. They might get it. And Sarah falters. What are you talking about? Why would you even consider not sending it? And you realise she hasn't finished her research, and she doesn't want to send half-baked research in case it's just dismissed. This feeling of like, and so there's a bit. So when I first read it, I was like, what? Why wouldn't she just send it? And then the further I got into it, I was like, well, yeah, if she sends half-baked research in, and people are, even when she's done years and years of stuff and done finished papers and had books published and is kind of famous, people are still doubting her then. What happens if some like half-done kind of like not fully completed piece of research is sent back? Are they just going to dismiss it? Are they going to, imagine if, say, the ship is lost and they can't find it? The legacy I imagine that Sarah is probably hoping for is that enough information will be sent so that another 5-year round mission will go out to go and get the microbes and come back again. You know, like she's thinking that far ahead. But that resistance, and yeah, she basically says, Holland, I need more time. And the implication of that is it's more valuable for me to be here than you. Which is quite a challenging thing to play as an actor when you look at it domestically, but then when you stretch it out further, it's like, well, if she is going to leave this legacy, if she has spent more than half of her life or something working towards trying to save Earth, then yeah, actually the ego isn't part of it at that point. It's kind of like practicalities of
we need to give people the best chance.
Literally the best chance that can which is so intense because you've got the personal relationship that they share, and then that wider sense of like the relationship with the planet.
And when she says the line that is like, you need to go, I need to stay, it is like, oh man, when their relationship at that point has just gotten like quite amicable as well, and they've resolved a few things, and then they've hit this, and I think going back to legacy, I think it's also talking about like you don't know what's gonna happen after you're gone, so you can only do the best that you can for those who come after, and that's I think like a big crux of you know, what we're going after with the play is that, you know, at the end of the show, you don't know if they're going to find the ship.
Yeah.
You don't know if the ship is ever going to, these microbes are going to live, and if they are going to live, if they're ever going to make it back to Earth, if they make it back to Earth, if they're ever going to, you know, save the planet, etc. But all you can do is try your best so that the next people have the best chance they have, which I think is very beautiful and speaks to a lot of, you know, what we're going through today as well in general.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. To give a little bit more time and space to the climate change themes of this play or climate action. You know, this is a piece of theatre in an advocacy sense as well. The play doesn't just dramatise space travel, but the very real ecological urgency on Earth. And how do you hope audiences will respond to its environmental themes?
That's a hard one because it's like humanity is so fatigued and they feel so helpless about, like, well, what can I actually do? So I think that's a real challenge. But I'm a big believer in seeing, when you see art, like theatre, especially theatre because you feel it. Like film is amazing and it can be so highly polished and so beautifully done that you feel immersed, but yet you also can feel distant from it. But there's something about theatre where you like sweat and bleed with the other person on the stage. You feel the reverberation of their voice and the noises and everything. So I think it has more of a physical effect. But I would hope that people would watch this, and because it's outlandish, it's not domestic, it's like larger than life. I think it allows people to think more objectively. You know, you can kind of, instead of being like, oh, well, that's not real, you kind of go, well, if that did happen, and you start kind of making little kind of like analysis in your head. I guess I kind of hope that it just flicks a little switch of like, yeah, this could be a near future. Yeah, what if the Earth's atmosphere does start taking a turn to a point where it's unlivable? And then those thoughts could lead you to potentially being like, maybe I could get involved in some climate change activism, or maybe there is a group that I can connect to. It's that small grassrootsy thing, and this is like just a tiny part of that.
Yeah.
You can't magically answer everything with a play, but you can kind of prod people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Provoke.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to legacy, I mean, I think it's that, you know, audiences come away with saying, for myself, I don't want my legacy to be that people in the future have to go to a planet 5 years away in order to try and save it when we could just fucking save it now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, shit.
Yeah.
Ideally, this play doesn't have to happen, but it looks like it's something like that might do, so we'll see.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
To talk a little bit more about the ending, because we've revealed a little bit more now, and you're
Sorry,
kind of
everybody.
like, I got it. The idea of bodily autonomy comes up metaphorically and quite literally, in Sarah's final decision. How do you see her choice as an act of reclaiming agency? This is for both of you.
Damn.
Anthea, may I have my beer, please? Thank you.
Of course. Reclaiming agency. I mean, it's a choice that she can make. The beauty of playing this as an actor is that she has such a tangible journey. Like, I don't have to dig around to find her journey. It's like she comes in at one level, goes up here, goes all the way down, and then back up again. You know, it's so clear. Because at one point, you know, if I flick back through, she's at one point saying, no, I need to stay, I need to finish my research, I can't send it unfinished because no one's going to believe it. And then she gets to a point where it's like, okay, I need to send what I've got. She's just blindly sending it. And I think I don't know, it's interesting. Once she has sent the work, once it is out of her hands, I think her purpose is, there's an element of her purpose is gone, and she has lost control of her work. And she can see that there is this thread of connection to control, and most likely the person who can, if they were to have a little bit more time, who could potentially get the ship in shape or hold it together is Holland. So then she can make a choice to go, well, I'm going to leave you here.
Yeah.
You are the best bet here. And so it's like a little full stop on the end of her work. But yeah, her suicide is a choice.
Major spoiler.
Oh yeah, go on.
Major spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in terms of autonomy as well, it's and this is something that we'll explore. Is this final choice a move towards or a move away from her faith? And
Oh yeah.
is that is that right?
No.
And is everything leading up to that final decision? Is it going to be, if it's faith-based, is that an autonomous decision? If it's not faith-based, is it more or is it less? So you're kind of looking at like the different degrees in which that could happen and affect that decision.
That would be a very interesting rehearsal.
Yeah, doing
During
it
that
one
scene.
way, you're going to join God. You're doing it one way of saying, do you know what? This is me now, and I've done what I need to do.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
That was a question that I had for Anthea in particular, and I guess this is just like entirely a choice that you make, like about with your character.
Yeah.
Do you see her final decision as faith-driven, scientific, or emotional?
I think it's faith driven for me, but again, I'm always open to trying different things. I think it's faith driven, but it's that she loses faith.
Yeah.
By the end, I personally think so. Maybe it isn't so finite, but I think there is a moment where she's just like, I mean, yeah, there is a final line. I mean, her final line is there is a tiny smidge of hope in it, but it's quite kind of, it's quite like a, what's the word, nihilistic ending, where she's just like, let's put it all in perspective. Like we're making all this noise and all this fuss, and actually in the end, we'll just find another way to fuck it up. Like she has like there's something where I feel like it's almost like she's just saying, I'm so tired.
She surrenders.
Yeah.
That weight.
Yeah, well she said the work, and she's like, you know what, guys, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like this is, I've done what I can.
Yeah?
But I mean, again, it's like, that's the joy of working on it as a collaborative team, is like trying different kind of approaches to it.
Yeah, completely. And see what? A bit of column A, a bit of column B.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to leave some time for you to ask some questions, so I'll just ask one more and then I'll hand it over to you. So as you take this to Edinburgh Fringe, how do you hope international audiences will engage with the themes of gender, faith and climate?
I mean, they're all big themes that everybody is really engaging with right now. I mean, like, there are gender-based rights being taken away. The climate's gone to shit, and as a result of all of the fucking wars everywhere, people are no longer concentrating on it as much as before, which is horrendous. But the problems are getting worse, and so it's in a lot of people's minds, and it's just kind of a matter of reminding people, like, hey, these problems still exist, and this isn't presenting a solution, but it's presenting a step towards at least fucking talking about it, and at least bringing it to people's attention again.
Yeah.
I think I would argue that it's everybody is paying attention
Yeah.
to it, but something like this offers a kind of, to bring it to faith, a communion. Like
Yeah.
people can kind of come and be like, I feel this, you know,
Yeah.
and you can all feel it together.
Something that Luke has said and remarked on is that when people leave the show, they're often like big kind of conversations. Like he's had scientists and like academics come up to him after the show and really fight for Sarah's decisions that she makes. Really fight for her work. Yeah, she needed to get her work sorted before she sent it out. I think it really resonates with people, and I think this the play is like, I mean, you want a voice for the voiceless. People need to be heard. Their stories need to be told, and I think this play does that. And I think it tells a story that people still need to hear, and not just like, Joe Bloggs who kind of goes to the theatre, but like the Sarahs and the Hollands out there who are doing that work. I think for them to come and see their voice being dramatified, I think is quite empowering for them as well. It allows them to go off and feel like, okay, faith. I have faith that I am being, what's the word? Heard. Yeah, represented, heard. There's a sense of connection there. Yeah.
And also, it's talking about the, these people's voices being heard. They are actually in the play. Luke, who wrote it, has done an enormous amount of research talking with scientists from all different stripes, and every bit of science in the play, when things start to go wrong in the play on the spaceship, the methods of trying to fix the problem are what they would actually try. And there are just so many different little details of science and everything like that both specifically about the science itself, but also the stories of the scientists are really, really, really baked in there, and they're so specific, and it gives the text such a richness that is it's so specific and beautiful, and as a result of the science, it creates more problems as well, and so it's not even just extra, fun little bits. It is baked right into the plot and how they're able to fix or not fix the problem.
Yeah.
After Anthea spilled her drink in the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of engineering.
So many.
It didn't go so well.
She's just a girl. Okay, that's all from me for now. Does anyone have any questions that they would? Yeah, that's good.
You spoke a little bit about her ego, and I was thinking that when you were talking about the general plot and things that happen, do you think by the end she is kind of this? I love this as a woman who's been in STEM my whole career.
Yeah.
Do you think by the end she kind of gives up on the idea of the greater good and just wants to show that she did it, wants to kind of like play them in at their own game and put her work out there?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I would want to look into that and try it that way. I think it's interesting because I had when I first read it, I had a first impression, but then when I read it again, I was like, hang on, no way. And then because Luke has lived with it for 5 years. There's another actor who was very, very integral to the creation of this. They, had a lot of opinions on Sarah. We had this meeting and he was like, yep, so Sarah X, Y, and Z. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, actually. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. And it was that strange thing of you give a role to another actor and it has different things. So it's really nice to hear you say that, because I think that's part of that faith discussion of when she does surrender, is there a moment of her being like, okay guys, whatever, have at it.
Yeah.
And if you've let go of that faith, if that was what you were, giving your life to that whole time, if you found that distance, then wouldn't you start to think, well, what have I been doing this for this whole time? Why is it not for me?
Yeah. I think I really do have to look at Sarah's, how much Sarah's ego, we always have such a negative connotation with that word, but I think we need to look at how much of her pride. To be able to be who she is and to have done what she's done, she has to be pretty dogged and pretty like driven. So there has to be some level of like power play there to be able to have got herself to that point. So yeah, it's a very good question. Well, I'll have to think about it. I'll be like, yes, Tracy, I'm thinking about that as I'm rehearsing this. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Anyone else?
Well, it's kind of a follow-up. Since you've been in contact with the previous actor and you're in contact with the director and you have like quick answers to questions that people who are just sitting there and receiving might not have those direct answers because it's theater and you have to think and you have to feel. How much do you ask and how much do you want to leave to your own decision making and creativity?
Wow, that's a good question. I think as an actor, Luke has like info dumped on me with a load of stuff, which I have kind of looked at. But I've also said to him, I want to be able to make a decision around Sarah's journey that maybe is not what you've looked at. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And I think starting out from a place of ignorance is nice. So you take the text, you look at what you do, the kind of like the fact gathering thing and try and kind of get what you can out of it. And then you supplement your kind of information later. But there's like fact stuff, like the fact that the bacteria is called like Matthias something bacterium. So Dr. Matthew named it after himself.
Oh.
That's real?
Yeah, in here, she like it, yeah, and then and also the length of the journey. It's not stated in here, but I was like, hey, Luke, and he was like, oh yeah, you know. So things like that, like more practical stuff, for sure, like fact within the world. That then defines how I create the character and what her journey is. But I'm trying to come to that on my own, and then present something which can then be changed if it needs to be changed. But like use the facts to create something. But I do think like. I've got some of my students in the room here, so when I've directed a show, I'll put in like a million layers of meaning and effort into just like 2 minutes of a show, and you just go in and you see something and you're like, wow, and then it's over, you know. And I feel like reading this is what it's like. It's like 5 years of work, and it's like we've now got a 50-minute show, and it was
Used
like
to be 75.
75 minutes down to 50 minutes. It's been reworked. There's like a million different versions. He's got all the lore, all of the research. You know, it's crazy.
Somebody's even made a fanfic. He told me that this morning. We had a call this morning. Somebody made a fanfic about so it happens like 10 years after the show on Earth, and the spaceship, they've managed to get the spaceship to like return to Earth, and it's about to happen, and the whole. They talk in the excerpt that we were talking about, that we just did, they talk about how they had the ARC project to like get humanity off of Earth, and so that's the main kind of ideological thing, and people are like misrepresenting Sarah and Holland's work, and Sarah's, Holland's mum becomes like a spokesperson accidentally, and it's a whole thing, but that is to say that there is a whole shit ton of lore around all of this, not just from Luke as the writer and the 5 years worth of history that's we've kind of adopted along with this show, but also like it's kind of taken on a life of its own for some people as well.
Are we getting an exclusive? Is this a possibility that it could be staged by Alchemy?
Yeah, exactly. We'll do a double. I literally said let's do a double bill.
Yeah. Oh my god! Could you imagine? That would be so cool.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah. Still alone. Yeah.
A loner. Too alone to. Alone.
It's too hot for podcasts.
Yeah,
it's really hot.
I can't do it.
So, since it's getting really, really hot in here, I wanted to leave with these legacy notes. So, can I have the
Such a good idea.
I am
Does
going to
anyone have
quote.
any more that we can add?
Yeah, any more legacies
Any
for
more?
the...
We'll pick it random. You can
Oh,
be
yeah.
my lottery gal.
Again, it's wearing the seance.
I do.
Let's
I'm gonna quote Lana Del Rey because I promised I would. So my life is my poetry. My love making is my legacy.
Oh.
Now I want to hear someone else.
Snaps for Lana.
Snaps for Lana.
Snaps for Lana, everybody.
Be a good parent.
Oh.
I'll
Yeah,
pick one
yeah.
and then you pick one as
Oh,
well.
great. Yeah, fun.
And then we can display them here if you want to have a look at them or later. Oh, this is a long one. Okay. I want to be remembered as a powerful creative who brightened the world through entertaining, heartwarming works filled with subtle, impactful truths.
Oh. Love that.
I love doing this stuff so much.
Solve some problems forever, in brackets. Let people enjoy life. Inspire good things. Yeah.
Very nice. Warm and
Fuck yeah.
fuzzies.
Yeah.
All right, I'll open these all up and people can come and have a look at them on the table. But thank you so much for being here and listening. Thank you.
So, before we kind of set you free into the night, into the sweltering heat, as we
one more.
the rain
one
is
more.
Starting.
I'm going to read one more.
The rain
Oh, the rain has
started.
started. Okay, great.
Oh no.
I'm going to read.
Storm that
Read one more. Yeah, Stu wants me to read one more.
I knew I saw her reaching for one. She can get to you.
I was actually going to say something else, but I'll read
Okay.
one more on your request.
Thank you.
Oh, really? Okay, well,
Yeah, let's read all of them.
Yeah. I hope my legacy could be how I created my own model for family independence, life and love. Family, life, independence, love. Family, independence, life and love. And I'm so sorry I'm butchering this. And have I
Led my own independent life.
Yeah, independence. Model for family, independence, life and love. Okay.
Okay, I have one, which is lovely. First answer, just be dead. Second answer, something that made less homeless people homeless. Kids raised with compassion and joy. Third answer, smiles and flowers.
That my time was spent deeply loving my friends, and that I at least inspired one little girl, my niece hopefully, to know her power and to live in the knowledge that the only way we can grow as a society is by looking at people as though to learn from them and not to compete with. I want to
Finance? Yes.
I want to finance at least 5 girls in higher education. That's very cool. That's very, very cool.
This is brief but beautiful. Joy, happiness, laughter, mucho love, and jokes.
Yes.
Vibes.
Okay, last one. A child with a love of languages and traveling the world. A legacy of beautiful political art that asks important questions.
Yes.
Yes. Well done, everybody.
Yeah.
I love everybody here.
Yeah.
That's for you. Oh, there's one.
gonna read.
Oh no.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's empty.
It's
Oh.